You're listening to Josh and Phil's Knowledge Club. Let's learn ourselves clever. Education, education, education. These three words became the rallying cry of Tony Blair's Labour government in 1997. Although technically it was only one word 3 times, no one seemed to notice or care, likely because they were preoccupied with the death of Lady Diana and the short-lived chart success of Chumbawamba. Nevertheless, education is the foundation of our civilization. The best teachers are rightly hailed as heroic figures throughout the ages, from Socrates and so on. Who among us doesn't look back on our time in the classroom with at least some recollection? And as the next generation are poised on the starting blocks of life, their schools are cathedrals of learning, where we can pass on to them our wisdom, skills, and gymnastics equipment. So Josh, thanks for being with us today.
Pleasure, Phil. Absolute pleasure, as always.
Now we're in what I would describe as the Athens of East Coventry here at the university.
Absolutely.
The guys there very kindly, once again, allowed us to use their premises to record this.
Big shout out to those guys.
Yeah, we're in what I would describe as a filing cupboard. There's 7 or 8 filing cabinets in here, each containing various documents.
Yeah.
The acoustics in here are very good.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, there is a recording studio, isn't there? But it's not the same sound, is it? It's not the same sound.
Well, it was booked anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So we're here to talk about education. And education, I suppose, starts way back at primary school. Now, most people can remember their first day at school, have very vivid memories of it. I wonder if you can. Do you remember your first day at school?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was 11 years old, maybe even younger. My school was it's quite near to my house, so Mum just walked me over the bridge. I had like a side lunch box with me full of like chocolates and crisps before Jamie Oliver got involved. I was eating turkey twizzlers night and day back then. And at noon. When's noon?
Midday?
Yeah, then as well. And got to school. Said, I want to enrol in school, please. Said, yeah, not a problem, come this way. My mum waved me off at the gate after school, came out, she was there again to meet me. She'd not been home in between. She didn't know how it worked really, she was freezing, bless her.
So she'd been there for, what, 5-6 hours?
5-6 hours, yeah. I think she was so traumatised actually by the cold. I drew a picture for her to put on the fridge, and she refused, because I think it being near the fridge reminded her of how cold she was. I can remember getting my school uniform. Mum took me into the shop in town, and there's all on racks, all these jumpers, and she said, just choose a jumper, whatever jumper you like, you can go to that school. So refreshing, parenting, and I chose one. 5 years later, I tell you what, St Michael's Catholic School for Girls, what an education they gave me. Big thank you to those guys, Sister Mary and Sister Joan.
Were you a keen learner? Were you an academic sort of child?
Yeah, I wasn't bad.
What was your favourite subject?
Favourite subject was history.
Cool.
Loved history, yeah, because it's just kind of things that happened in the past, isn't it, mainly?
Largely.
Yeah, I liked kind of modern history, like the world wars and kind of 20th century stuff. I wasn't really into the Romans, not the Egyptians. I'm not into all the mythical stuff at all, really. I mean, you tell me there's a country called Egypt with things called the pyramids. Pull the other one. Not into that.
I think there actually is a country called Egypt.
Yeah, but is they? That's the thing with history. Nobody was there.
According to the Oxford English Dictionary, teacher is one of the many names once given to the index finger. In addition, the ring finger was once known as a lab assistant, the thumb as a dinner lady, and the palm as an academic support coordinator. So a lot of people can remember one teacher in particular who inspired them, who sort of stayed with them. Did you have one of those?
Certainly. Robin Williams in the Dead Poets Society. What a teacher that guy was. Brilliant, really got the best out of the kids. He inspired me to live life to the fullest. If it wasn't for him, I doubt I would have even gone to COS last year for the week. There was another guy actually, another teacher. He wasn't a music teacher, he'd been kind of brought in as like a main class teacher. And at first, like the whole class weren't sure. He didn't seem to know what he was doing. Like he was quite dishevelled, and he drove like a tatty van. And he had this project, which I'm pretty sure was on the curriculum. He actually made us play as a rock band, former rock band. Yeah. And the head was like dead against it. Every time she'd come in, we'd be like playing instruments, and she just couldn't get her head around what we were doing. And then at the end, like towards the end of the year, we played this concert. And the head, at first, she wasn't happy at all, but eventually she came round, and we really smashed the concert, and it was great at the end. Everyone was clapping. And
I have to say that does sound like you're describing the film School of Rock.
yeah, but it's a fine line between real memories and memories of films, isn't it?
It is common for adults to move house in order to be in the catchment area for a better primary school, although this is regarded as suspicious if they don't have children. In most schools, it is outright banned for a teacher to enter into a sexual relationship with a student during lesson time. So a lot of people feel a bit shortchanged by their time at school. They wish that they'd been taught certain things they weren't. Was there a subject that you wish you'd been taught at school?
I'd have to say maths.
You weren't taught maths?
No, not that I can remember. And I'd say maths is essential to every child. It should be taught in every school up and down the country. I'll put that on record, saying that now. Maths, you use it every day, Phil. Everyday stuff. Like, say, I've got 12 apples, right? 3 of my friends come over. How many apples each would they get? None is the answer. Tea or coffee. That's all you're getting. Don't come around here asking for apples and fruit. I'll put them upstairs next time. When I had no apples, when I was down and out, I had nothing. How many of those people came around to visit me? None. Equals none. Yeah. Other than that, I'd say I'd like to have learned a proper trade like dog grooming or glass blowing.
What about the care for our children then? So, school meals, for example. Do you remember school dinners?
Yes, I can. Can remember school. Oh God, they were awful, weren't they? School dinners.
School dinners bad, were they?
I bet the listeners can remember school dinners. Bad school dinners, weren't they? Oh man, the only thing I liked was chocolate cracknel with mint custard. Oh, I didn't have it at my school, but I was watching one of those, those nostalgia programs they do on Channel 4.
Yeah.
And Emma Willis was describing it. Sounds lovely. I had sandwiches. I actually took sandwiches. Times were quite hard actually back then, so I used to have paste on the sandwiches, different pastes.
Fish paste.
Yeah, fish paste, wallpaper paste. No, that was a joke. Our house was completely emulsioned. We used to, this is more secondary school, at lunchtime we'd run across the dual carriageway to the industrial estate and we'd get, it should be like a sandwich van there, do like sausage and bacon rolls and sandwiches.
Sure.
We used to get that every day. But I think the guy's a bit dodgy, like he always used to have like cuts and bruises, a bit shifty. Once we went over there and his van had been burnt out and he was left for dead on the side of the road.
Wow, and what did you do?
We just went to the chippy in the end.
The TV show Grange Hill was groundbreaking in its realistic depiction of a typical British comprehensive, occasionally even going so far as to cast real children to portray actors portraying children. It was commended for its willingness to tackle hard-hitting issues, such as the character of Zamo's heroin addiction, something that most child actors can relate to. One of the other issues that's worth mentioning is mixed ability groups, so arguably a good thing, but arguably also could instill in them feelings of inferiority perhaps later in life. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That's just life, isn't it? There's mixed abilities in life. I'm sure some of the people listening to this podcast are enjoying it at different levels. There'll be some people just enjoying the vibrations in their ears. And I'd like to actually do something for those guys, Phil, if I can.
Go ahead.
And there's also those that are enjoying it on a more intellectual level. It's like the marathon, I suppose, isn't it? You know, you can't have like a fun runner in with the elite athletes because they've got no chance. Even if they weren't dressed as a hot dog, they'd get left behind, you know? But then it's also, how do you measure ability? Like Paula Ratcliffe, yeah, she's ran a great time. How much money is she raising? Yeah, that guy dressed as a hot dog, it might take 8 hours, but he's built an orphanage in Malawi. Yeah? What's Paula Ratcliffe done with that gold medal? How many mosquito nets is that putting up? None. There's different kinds of learners, isn't there, as well? You know, some people learn by like watching or listening.
Sure.
Yeah, I actually quite a hands-on learner.
Yeah.
I actually learn by doing things, you know, which is one of the reasons I was never allowed to study the Holocaust in any kind of depth. They have these things now, Phil, called reading dogs.
Reading dogs?
Yeah, not dogs that go and read, that'd be silly. Dogs that get brought into school, like they're not full-time, they just get brought in like ad hoc. And the kids that are not confident reading out loud will practice reading to the dogs, kind of free from judgment, and it improves their reading.
Oh, I see.
It's quite a nice thing. Yeah, they do it in the school near me. One of the dogs actually went feral and attacked one of the dinner ladies. I think he'd been listening to too much Stephen King. It had to be put down in the end. But I think it's a great concept. I think let's develop that idea. Why not practice speaking French to a hamster? PowerPoint with chinchillas.
The culmination of learning, of course, is when you sit exams for your qualifications. Our kids do sort of mock exams earlier and earlier these days.
Yeah, well, I think I did mine probably about 11 a.m, most of my exams. But I mean, if you're saying they're getting earlier, then I completely take your point.
Do you remember sitting your exams? Did nerves get the better of you?
You know what? They didn't. They didn't get the better of me because it's a technique I used. Because my exams took place in the sports hall.
Yeah.
You see, so I just kind of prepared myself, because I've been in the sports hall loads of times. I just prepared myself as if I was going to go in and play a game of badminton. So I had like the shorts on and like a sweatband. It does get cold in there though when you're not moving around.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to take a pen. Yeah. I had a racket with me, so I had to put my hand up and ask the umpire to come over and give me or invigilator, I think they're called, to come over and give me a pen. But no, they didn't get the better of me at all. You get some kids that are great, dead intelligent, but then they can't deliver in exams.
The pressure gets
pressure,
to them,
yeah. But I've read this, Phil. There's a study. It's called context-dependent retrieval.
Okay.
Right? So they did a study with scuba divers. They put scuba divers underwater, right, and they showed them some pictures, and then they tested the recall when they were above water, and then again when they were underwater, and their recall was better when they were underwater. So when they were back in their context where they learnt it. So, we have exams in exam halls. So I think, like, for the week leading up to the exams, kids should be taught underwater. The findings are all there.
A tip for anyone sitting their GCSEs: don't worry. Employers don't really care what grades you got, unless they're good. And if they're bad, you probably won't even progress to interview stage. So who cares? So did you go to a public school? Were you privately educated or was it a state school?
I went to a state school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
There's arguments that there is a problem with social mobility in this country, and that bright children from working class backgrounds, being priced out of the market, as it were. Would you be happy for your kids to go to state school, or would you fork out for them to be privately educated?
Yeah, no, I'd be happy for them to go to state school. I think there's something in struggling. I think that's an important skill to learn. But I just think public schools, they're just so much more rounded individuals when they come out. They're good at cross-country running, they can all speak a language, they get good exam results, they can all play an instrument, Whereas the kids I went to school with, the only thing we had was we learnt to play the steel pans, and we learnt going to Ibiza by the Venga Boys. In fact, actually, that reminds me of another time that we played in this concert, right? This teacher came in.
Yeah.
And at first, we weren't sure if he was any good or not. And he got us all to be in a band, right? And we played like a concert at the end of the year, and like all the other teachers like really sceptical. The parents like, this is a waste of time.
Yeah. Again, this does sound like School of Rock that you're describing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've watched the film today, Phil. It's in my mind,
in the forefront.
Yeah, it's kind of at the front of my mind, really.
One of the main differences or challenges that state schools versus public schools face is the matter of discipline.
Mm.
Now, do you think they should bring back corporal punishment for unruly children?
No, Phil. No, it's 2018. I think we're beyond that now. I think it's proven that you can actually do just as much damage psychologically. You can really break a kid's confidence over time. It's that old saying that sticks and stones. Leave the smacking to the parents, is what I say. Do you know what I mean? Extracurricular stuff, that is.
The oldest university in the UK is Oxford's University of Oxford in Oxford, established sometime before 1980. Since then, universities have been springing up all over the country, including Wolverhampton, in an attempt to cash in on its success. It is expected that by 2022, every British adult will have studied for a degree to at least some degree. The newspaper The Sun is thought to be named by Rupert Murdoch after Aston University's Student Union newspaper, or Sun. Another possibility is that it is named after the star at the centre of our solar system, which itself was named after the Southampton University newsletter, or Sun. So what about higher education then? So a lot of children, they leave school, some go straight into work, but some will go to college and to university perhaps. Did you attend university?
Yeah, I attended university probably 20 times, 25 times.
Right.
This campus here. It's got everything. It's got like a gym. It's got a swimming pool. I've been here loads of times. Like a library here.
I don't mean so much have you been on the premises, more have you studied?
Yeah, I've done classes. Done a lot of classes here. I've done spinning.
Right.
I've done body pump.
Yeah.
Body attack.
What I'm getting at, have you actually studied for a degree?
What is a degree? You know, it's quite vague, isn't it, as a concept of a degree?
I'd say it's fairly clearly defined what a degree is.
But in this context, it's kind of quite loose, isn't it?
No.
I suppose in terms of what you deem as a degree, then no, I haven't. But in the wider scheme of degrees, it's vague is all I'm saying. I've been to the university. So.
Well, no one's disputing that. What do you make of things like the Open University, for example?
Oh, Phil, don't get me started on that thing. What a scam. I enrolled, right? There's no premises. There's no classrooms. There's no student bars. Accommodation, forget it. That address on the letter, that's just a head office. I'd put all my stuff into storage, all my furniture. I turned up there with an inflatable mattress and 30 frozen meals my mum had done me. Nothing, they laughed at me.
Some might say that that's the idea of the Open University, is that there's no premises though, and you can do your learning wherever.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's hidden costs to it. I had to pay like rent, food, heating.
Yep, you would have had to pay those things whether or not you were doing the course though.
I'm just not comfortable with it. I just think it reminds me of one of these pyramid schemes, which brings us back to those so-called Egyptians.
Media studies is often dismissed as a Mickey Mouse degree, but in fact, analysis of Mickey Mouse only comprises 40% of the course, with the remaining 60% devoted to the sitcom Friends, Free Periods, and Minnie Mouse. One of my teachers at secondary school was called Dr. Wood, which I always thought sounded like the nickname of a porn actor. Now, a lot of politicians try to solve the problem of university fees. It's an ongoing issue for respective governments.
Yeah.
How would you solve the problem, Josh?
And I've thought about this, Phil. What I do, a lot of governments, what they've done, they've actually put fees up.
Yeah.
Whereas what I would do, I'd look at bringing them down.
Making them more affordable.
Making them more affordable.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
It does, yeah. It's like... But then, I mean, the other thing you could do, worse universities. I mean, some of these universities, now they're the best universities in the world. They're costing a lot of money to run. Look at the premises. It's like big glass-fronted buildings. There's plasma TVs everywhere, glass staircases. Get rid of all that. Just have the best minds in a room with, like, the best lecturers.
Like a think tank.
Yeah, literally a tank. Let's fill them with water. Goes back to that scuba diving study.
Sure.
Like, my friend, he did an archaeology degree. First year, yeah, fine. Second year, had to go to Peru. Look how much that cost him. I went to a cost last year, £400 for the week, and I wasn't digging up anything. The only thing I was digging was acid house. Acid.
Right.
You never stop learning though, Phil.
No, well, that's one of the things we hope to achieve in this podcast.
Yeah. You know the Ricky Martin song, Living La Vida Loca?
I know it.
You know what that means? That means living the crazy life. Yeah, I didn't know that for years. I've been singing Living La Vida Loco, which is living the train life, which is not the message of the song.
No.
So we're always learning, aren't we? It's incredible,
an
really.
ongoing
Yeah.
thing, yeah. So as you say, education just keeps rolling on. I mean, what do you hope to learn next?
I think the world's changing, isn't it, Phil?
It is.
All the time, you know. I heard a stat the other day. So like a 12-year-old, 40% of jobs end up doing don't exist yet.
Wow.
That's incredible, isn't it? So I'll probably end up doing one of them.
But you can't go into any detail because
It's not there yet, is it?
it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah. But what about yourself, Phil? What are you looking to learn? And
I'm actually training to be a masseur.
okay.
You know, doing massages on call and stuff.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So, you know, if say any women, perhaps slightly older, you know, feel that they need a massage, I could go around and do that.
You'd go round, would you? You actually go to...
I'd actually take the equipment, the table, and massage them in their own home. Like your mother, for example, just as off the top of my head, I could go around there and she could, you know, get undressed, and I could rub oils into her. Do you think that's something that she'd be into at all?
I mean, if she's all for learning and helping people learn and stuff, yeah, if that's gonna...
I mean, if you could ask her.
Yeah. Is it a course? You on a course, or is it just...
In a way.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely ask her.
Thanks. If you could, I'd be very grateful. Well, Josh, once again, thanks very much. Thanks to the University of East Coventry, and join us on our next podcast. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to Josh and Phil's Knowledge Club. Lawn maintenance was by Nigel Banks, coffee was by John, the stunt coordinator was Billy Deeney, and the programme was produced by Calvin Harris.